we're also developing water quality indicators, and which I will touch on if I have time. Okay, so well, just a bit of background. As many of you are probably aware that City adopted our kind of long-term community plan a couple of years ago. And in that city plan, Nanaimo Reimagined document, we adopted this framework based on the donut economic theories. And that kind of provided the structure for us to kind of organize our long-term goals. So the idea of the donut framework is that, we need to live within our ecological boundaries while also providing sufficient foundations, social foundations for everyone to thrive. And how can you find that balance with nature and also, finding sufficient support for people who need it? So from that framework comes the 5 city goals. So one of the top goal is, this green Nanaimo, creating resilient and regenerative ecosystems. And then we also have connected Nanaimo about mobility, healthy Nanaimo about community well-being, and empowered Nanaimo, and a prosperous Nanaimo. So these are kind of the general framework. And so that framework was actually used for not just the city plan that set the visions and the policies. And we have this integrated action plan that was approved after city plan that listed all the initiatives and actions that city intends to pursue. And then there's a short list of priority actions, about 203, I think, actions that council direct us to prioritize, to take initiatives to implement them first. And then the monitoring strategy is kind of the last piece of these 3 documents that are intended to work together. So now we have the vision and the policies, and we have the actions. How do we know if we're on track and if we have been pursuing effective actions? We need to have a way to actually check our progress. And so the monitoring strategy is meant to provide meaningful, holistic insights and tell us if our actions are effective, and then, track our progress towards those city goals. So that's kind of at a high level how the monitoring strategy fits into our kind of a long-term plan and implementation. And so I'm now going to switch out of this presentation and show you just on our city website where you can find this information, so that after this presentation, after this meeting, you are able to explore data and look more into it, because it's impossible to go through all of them during this meeting. So if you go to the city website, and if you just search city plan monitoring, and it should show the first result is monitoring strategy. So if you click on that, it will take you to the site where you will see the monitoring strategy document. And if you go back to the result, you can also see there is a city plan monitoring site. And this is where the data and indicators are. So it started with how to use the data. So exploring the data, we have a few different ways that you can look at all the data. So it kind of lays out a few different ways. You can look at our annual data portrait. So we call it the Nanaimo monitoring bar. So it will move you to the right place. So this gives you kind of a very high level. It's organized by those 5 city goals. So the green is at the top, and you have connected, healthy, empowered, and prosperous at the bottom. And these are a small number of key indicators we use to track our overall kind of, our status. And that was done annually. So you can see that there are still indicators under development. But the ones that we do have data and have developed, you can see that some are in red. So those are currently at an unsustainable level. And then the bar that kind of, to what extent it kind of goes beyond those I think it was ecological ceilings at the top and a social foundation at the bottom, you can see that if they're all green, then they will actually stay pretty compact in that central space. But many of the red bars actually extended beyond that. So the more it extends from the center, the further we're away from our goal. So that just gives you a very high level, at a glance view of overall how we're doing. And then you can select different years to take a look at how that changes over time. So this is kind of the first way to look at data. The second way is, if we're going back to the top, you can also look at individual indicators. So I think for most of us, we're much more interested in actually getting into the nitty-gritty and to look at things that are particularly interesting to us. So if you click onto the indicators or just simply scroll down, you'll get to this area where it allows you to actually filter by area. So again, these are the 5 goal areas. You can just focus on the green area and it will show only the indicators and the data for green enamel, or you can pick something else. You can also filter by the type of indicators. So the key indicators, as I mentioned, those are kind of the highest level indicators. That doesn't give you a lot of details, but it does, we basically assign a score that tells you, how well we're doing. So you're not left with just raw data and without some context. And then the supportive indicators, these are the actual data. So their numbers or percentages, these are, if you're looking at climate change or community greenhouse gas emissions, you get the actual tonnage. So if you click into here, it will give you the actual data by year. And if we have a target, it will show in here. And whenever possible, we try to produce graph so that you can put all the targets and our current state into context. So that's the second way of exploring this. And another way to look at it, if you just want to look at, in a table format and see the trend. So here you can select the year. So if I select 2023, it basically shows that year's data as well as the previous 2 years. This way you can look at, here we have all the green indicators, and you can see 3 years of data. And one little trick is that when you look at the table format, remember that these filters are still on. So these are the things that, if you play around on the website, it will make sense. There is a lot of information there, but, we do have a way for you to provide feedback. Here, if there are any questions, if you want to give us feedback, if you're looking for something you can't find, you can take a simple survey, and we have a few questions that could help us improve the website. So we only just launched this in December, still fairly fresh. And this is a work in progress, so that, we're constantly trying to improve the experience, and, would be curious to know, what your experience, if you get a chance to explore that and give us feedback, we'd really appreciate it. One last way of exploring data. If this is all too overwhelming, you just want to be able to see all the key indicators in one document and the supportive indicators in another document. There is a way. We basically also produced just a PDF document. So you could just open this document. There are a few data points that are missing here because this is covering year 2016 to 2023. We do sometimes have data that is older than that. So those might be cut off, but by and large, you're seeing kind of, at a glance, the actual data in one place. So I just want to give you orientation because I know that you probably want to take your time to explore this. So I think, how much time do we have now? So 5. Dave, do you think that we have 5 more minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm
Okay.
allocated to go to 7:30, so, or sorry, 5:30. Yeah.
All right.
So, more minutes.
So I think if we have a little bit of time, maybe what I would do, instead of going through all the data in our monitoring dashboard, I would just show you the data that we have for green enamel. So at least you have an impression. And don't worry if you don't have time to digest this information. I know it's very quick. And then after I show you all the data that we have in the green enamel section, then I will show you just how to use the tree canopy tool. So let me just switch over to presentation mode. So I would just give you, like, this is all available on the website, but it might be nice to see all of this in one take. So we have the community greenhouse gas emissions, and it shows the 2010 baseline and our status basically from 2015, and also shows where our 2030 and 2050 targets are. These are community greenhouse gas emissions broken down by sector, so by building infrastructure and transportation and waste. We also looked at the community GHG emissions per capita. Here we have a corporate GHG emissions. So these are emissions that cities operation produce. And you can see our actual performance against our targets. Again, these are corporate emissions broken down by source. And then we have the second indicators around the tree canopy. And these are the tree canopy monitoring areas that basically kind of correspond to our census area. And then this is the number of tree canopy monitoring areas that at least achieve 30% canopy coverage. So we have 19 of these monitoring areas. Historically, we have 8 of those areas meeting the 30% until 2022. We lost one. And here is a more detailed graph broken down by these areas. And you can see where the 30% canopy coverage is. And then all the neighborhoods, the areas below that line are the ones that are not quite meeting the 30% tree canopy coverage. And we have an indicator on water supply. So this is one indicator that we identified with our engineering. What is really key is that the reservoir that the city operates does not drop below 30%. So they're monitoring the number of days a year that reservoir is at or above 30%. So historically, we have been doing really well. And here is a more detailed table that shows the number of days at different levels of the reservoir capacity. And you can see, for example, in year 2022, so the second last column there, even though we never dropped below 30% capacity, but it got really close. We had 9 days in between 31 and 35%. And if you recall, that is a severe drought year. And then here we look at the actual water consumption. So we have the total annual water consumption for the entire community, the residential portion of the water consumption per person, and then we have the average water consumption per person per day, and also the target. Another indicator related to water is environmental flow. So this is looking at water discharge. So during the summer time, like basically from August to October, we have to maintain certain flow in the stream in order to support salmon rearing. And so this shows the number of days between those dates and then the number of days that discharge is at or above that level. So we're not quite meeting that goal, very close, but there's definitely improvement needs to be made. And then the waste indicator, we're looking at a residential waste diversion.
Hello?
Oh, is there someone? Question?
Yeah, I'm not getting the graphs. How do I see what the goal is again? And is the goal just the top or sorry, could you introduce how to read the graphs? Because they're very similar, it would make sense to just
Yeah, sorry, it would it
Just
be
like a
better
line
to
graph.
explain?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for example, all the targets are in orange. Like this is something I probably should have explained. Um, and when you actually go to the website, these are actually embedded in a detailed web page that explains the targets. It has a lot more information than I'm giving you right now. So I apologize if this is, it's kind of stripped of a lot of the context. But hopefully, yeah, you can get in touch with us if you had a chance to look at the website. If it still doesn't make sense, maybe there's something that we can improve. But the orange always represents the sustainability target, and then the green is the actual measured performance. So you can just easily compare. So this is an example. We're looking at a waste diversion. So 90% diversion rate of that orange is the target. And then the green is our actual performance. So that's not quite meeting that 90%. And then we have the breakdown of the waste diversions, just in terms of the tonnage of the the kilograms per household that goes to recycling, organics, landfill, and what is corresponding diversion rate. So I would just stop there because that's kind of covering most of the green and IMO indicators. And as you can see, it was kind of like covering the greenhouse gas emissions, water waste, and water quality. And I'm gonna go to this tree canopy site. So how you get there? One way is we can search. So if you search tree canopy dashboard, and it will take you to one of our indicator page. Oops, that did not work. That is very strange. I'm not sure why. Okay, I'm sorry about that. That's the first time it has happened. Okay, so we'll just go back to plan monitoring then. And so if you find land use and land health, which covers the tree canopy coverage, and you will see the graph that I showed earlier, and then here's where you can find all the information related to that indicators, how we developed it. And then if you go to the bottom and click on this tree canopy dashboard, it will take you to this separate tool. And it does comes with instructions. So it's a GIS developed tool that is open to the public. And here you can open how to use this dashboard. And it has a detailed instructions in a PDF format that you can open in the browser. But what I want to show you is that this gives you the ability to look at the city's current tree canopy cover. So this pink area represent the tree canopy in the city of Nanaimo. And if you open the layers on the right-hand side, you could also look at the tree canopy reduction and growth. So this becomes really informative. So the green represent the tree canopy growth area, and then the yellow represent the tree reduction area. And this allows you to zoom in to see where the growth and the reduction occurs. And you can also compare kind of the aerial images from different years. So we have on the right-hand side here, the most recent images is from 2022, and you can compare that to 2016. I think it might be more obvious if we zoom in to look at some of the developments. And you can see what 2016 was like. And if you turn it off and open 2022 layer, then it show you what is the most recent developments like. And so this also allow you to basically look at the data that I just presented. So these yellow lines represent those census areas, and it allows you to check this one area, and then it gives you the tree canopy coverage for that area. So you could take a look at the area that has the lower tree canopy coverage areas and understand where tree deficiency occurs. So that's a quick demo of the tool. And I think that this is kind of the first time we're, sharing this level of data. And you would probably be drawn to areas that you live in and your neighborhood. And I'm curious, what do you discover and what insights that you can draw from this? And we're also trying to use data to help inform our own decisions, and certainly looking forward to collaborating with our volunteer groups to see where we can make a difference. I will stop there because it's now 5:34, and happy to take any questions if there's any burning questions now, or we can wait till the end.
Thanks, Ting. I think Yanni has a question. Go ahead.
Thanks so much. That's so cool. I was always hoping to be able to see like an aerial view of our area because we've been growing a lot of food forests over the past years. So maybe that's visible on the map, hopefully. And I actually maybe I missed it in the beginning, but I was wondering how is the goal determined of 30%, if that's right, would be like sufficient? And like I'm always already like expecting the city's trying to have like some wiggle room and like including some parks, like extending boundaries to increase the overall coverage. Simply, I don't know, just yeah, because obviously the development is so strong. It's like
that's
the increase is unlikely.
Yeah, that's a good question. And actually, the key indicator you will see that it was really more about how many areas that I achieve at least 30% of tree canopy coverage, as opposed to citywide, tree canopy coverage, because they can be not distributed very evenly across the city. So we do have the data on the overall tree canopy coverage. I can find it for you here. So for example, if you look at one of the supportive indicators is a citywide tree canopy coverage. And this is the percentage of land area, and including Sisseton. So that's kind of our citywide percentages, but it doesn't tell you enough, right, for area specific planning. And which is why, we look at kind of area by area, and being able to, focus probably areas that need improvement the most. And 30% based on literature is probably the minimum. Like that's the threshold where you can expect like a noticeable difference in terms of urban heat island effect and creating health benefit. 40% is probably ideal, but we're kind of looking at that 30% as there is research-backed kind of evidence that is the critical threshold.
Thank you so much. That explains it.
I think the other thing for this group too is, I mean, I know a lot of you are neighborhood focused, so you're going to continue to be, but for those that have the ability to kind of use these tools to identify areas that maybe need a little bit more attention, this is a fantastic tool to kind of help identify maybe some of your volunteer sustainability projects, where not only where you should locate them, but maybe what kind of projects are more important versus others. And it will be something the city will use as we go forward in terms of evaluating things like grants and things like that. It's a fantastic tool. Was there any other questions for Ting on that note?
lot to think about.
Yeah, yeah, and certainly. So I put the links in the chat, so feel free to play around with them. I made a promise as well in the chat to send them out to all 25 of you on the call. So yeah, absolutely. You'll have an opportunity to play around with those. And like Ting mentioned, there is a survey on the website to provide feedback as well.
I will stay till a little bit later. So if anyone wants to stay on and have any more questions, I'm happy to answer them and also answer, yeah, like to do a more demo if you want to. But since you have other things on your agenda, I'm hoping that we can get to those first.
And I do see Shelley has a comment in the chat. I don't know if Kirsty's on right now regarding types of trees. If not, Shelley, I can take a stab at answering that. We do have a tree management bylaw, I believe, and that's what I'm looking to see if Kirsty's on, because we are actually looking at updating our urban forest strategy to, and that would include things like climate change. But Kirsty, are you there?
I am. It really
Okay.
depends on where the tree planting is going to occur. I think the species appropriateness varies depending on if it's in a park, if it's in a riparian area, access to water, if it's in a sidewalk situation or an urban situation. And as Dave said, there are species specified in our tree bylaws, but we are updating them. So it really depends on the site, and we'd be happy to give you recommendations depending on the project.
Yeah, and I neglected to do introductions for it. So Kirsty is our manager of park operations as well, and she's joined us to help answer some of those questions as well as we get into the grants. So it would be great to have you on. Yes, and the tree voucher program, thank you, Teresa, is continuing to run. So that's run through the engineering and environment group. And so that's available on our website, and I'll try and throw a link into the email and the chat on that as well. And that answers Shelley's question, I think, as well, a little bit. We do have a tree voucher program available that subsidizes trees, and you can purchase those vouchers online.
There are other ways, though, if a neighborhood wants to plant trees. So we've had several neighborhoods this year and for many years that have chosen to make tree planting in their neighborhood one of their top 3 priorities when it comes to the neighborhood initiatives meetings that happen in the spring. And that's something that staff can work if that's a top issue at funding. We also have a Partners in Parks program where neighborhoods can access funding to plant trees. And a lot of the old city quarter trees actually that you do see that are about 25 years old have been installed block by block through that program. And then staff work to find appropriate species depending on power lines, adjacent fences and things like that. But there's multiple ways, I guess. It depends if you're looking at a coordinated effort with lots of volunteers, homes that are willing to water the trees over time, or if it's more of just in front of your own neighborhood.
And I think that question's also a good segue into what I want to talk about next, because another way on top of the tree voucher and the Partners in Parks program that Kirsty mentioned is through grants. So I did want to talk about what we've got going on there. So I'm going to share my screen again here. I'll try and do it quickly. So hopefully everyone can see that. So I've got just a quick well, maybe not so quick, because I want to go over some of this information because I think it'll be interesting to the group here. So we've got 2 grants launching. The first one is the Community Environmental Sustainability Grant. That's a bit of a mouthful. That's managed by myself in sustainability. And then the Community Watershed Restoration Grant, which is managed by Parks. I'll also go over an exciting new program we're launching related to home retrofits. For those that don't know what a retrofit is, that's a home improvement related to energy. So something like heat pumps, solar panels, batteries, or building envelope improvements to improve your energy efficiency. And we are launching a loan program related to that I'll talk about. So hopefully you can still see my slides moving. Please shout at me if you can't. So we're looking, I'll talk about my grant here, the Community Environmental Sustainability Grant. So really that's intended to support creative, small scale environmental projects not near a water course. The reason for that is because we have that other watershed grant that would support water course projects. And really, if you're looking at trying to figure out if we're going to support your grant project, a good place to start is City Plan. Ting mentioned the City Plan in her presentation a little bit, and that's our overall kind of guiding document for the city. In that City Plan, we have green goals, and so we're looking at anything that supports those green goals, and they range from anything from greenhouse gas emission reduction to climate resiliency to environmental health. So the big important piece is this grant opens up on February 14th on Valentine's Day, and we'll take it till April 3rd. We'll be accepting applications. We have up to $5,000 of fund available in funding per project, $20,000 in total. Applications are online as of today, although we won't be accepting until the 14th. And you can email those applications to myself at sustainability@nanaimo.ca or drop them off in person at my office on 411 Dunsmuir Street, or mail them. And I'm sorry about the criteria being written twice there. These are eligible. The good news is anybody who's registered with the Acting for Climate Together program that I spoke about earlier, and many of you already are eligible for this. It's also available to registered nonprofits, recognized neighborhood associations, school groups, classes, or clubs, established stewardship groups. And what I mean by that is a group that has done projects with the city in the past that have been recognized, particularly projects on city land where you have a long history of working with the city, and as well as any religious organizations. So again, the eligible projects are projects not intended for ongoing operational expenses. They obviously must be inside the city of Nanaimo. That goes for all our grant application projects. And the project cannot be funded by another city in Nanaimo grant. So you can't double dip. You can't apply for the watershed and the environmental, for example, or one of our social grants. I mentioned City Plan. So City Plan does help us identify some of those priority areas. So those, again, are greenhouse gas emission reduction, climate adaptation, which means preparing for the impacts of climate change, protecting our urban tree canopy, and we heard from Ting why that's important, natural areas and greenways, outside of water courses, and solid waste management. And I am just want to go over very quickly. We'll have more information available on this, and we do have Kirsty on the call as well if there are questions. But the other project that's kind of launched in parallel with this one is a community watershed restoration grant. So that supports exactly what it sounds like, environmental projects near or within a water course. There's a total of $20,000 available in funding, no cap on individual projects. So that's the difference. It could be $20,000 for one project. It could be a bunch of different projects within that overall funding. The criteria is similar otherwise to the grant I talked about in terms of what they're looking at. Other than the City Plan goal here, it would be related to watershed health. And Parks and Rec's email is available there, and they'll be available to help you with that. And then finally, I'm really excited to talk to you about this last program. So some of you in ACT or other groups may have heard that the city's been working for a while on starting up a retrofit loan program. So that would be to support homeowners, like many of you, on purchasing a heat pump or a solar panel or something to increase the energy efficiency and lower the emissions on your home. We'll be launching a program this spring with loans up to $15,000 available over 10 years. They'll be payable through your property tax and held with the property. More information to come. We'll be doing some info sessions on that in a lot more detail than one single slide. And there'll be a website launching within the next couple of weeks, as well as a news release. But I just wanted to put that on anyone's radar. You can reach me at david.stewart@nanaimo.ca or sustainability@nanaimo.ca if you have questions about that as well. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. I do see there's a couple comments in the chat here. So sorry, I'm just reading your comment there, Francis. Yeah, in terms of faith communities, absolutely, they are qualified. If you have a few people that want to get involved, probably the best way to do that would be through something like ACT, if they're not actively members of your faith organization. and they're not willing or interested in joining, then potentially creating another group for the project through something like Acting for Climate Together is a really good way to go, and then you would automatically be qualified for this. Are there any other comments on any of the other city updates before I throw it to Brianna? Yeah, and again, it seemed like Annette Francis's comment through the chat. So in terms of if you have a bunch of motivated individuals and aren't sure what they want to do, that's a really good problem to have in a lot of ways. So reach out to us. We have some ideas. I think looking at the monitoring strategy that you heard Ting present on could maybe help inspire some change when we actually look and see where we're falling short, what particular areas, whether that's tree canopy or something else. As well as the Acting for Climate Together. I didn't get into this in my very abbreviated introduction to ACT, but we did put together some handouts that identify sort of where key projects and where we would like to see your support, as well as on our website under Greener Together on the Green Initiatives website. We have a list of some key ideas of where individuals can help. But I think most importantly, reach out to me, reach out to folks in Parks and Recreation. If you have some ideas of projects, we're happy to help. I think all of us are pretty keen to work with committed volunteers. And Kirsty, you put your camera on. I'm assuming you have something to add.
We have some priority projects. So as Dave alluded to, the Community Watershed Grant, we are looking at supporting and aligning with the IEPs and city plan. But our key priorities are the Cat Stream and the Millstone River corridors. And we have a lot of tree planting projects, especially along the Millstone River, that we are trying to implement. So if you've got a group that's looking for a project, we have a site and definitely are looking for laborers to help with that. The biggest hurdle for us is really we can provide the trees, but we can't, it's the installation and then follow through on maintaining the installation. So that would be one idea. We also have a number of, if you're just looking for volunteer projects, a number of food producing groups in parks that are looking for champions to join them. They're starting to dwindle as people are moving away, and they're established community gardens and established food forests where we're looking for more help and we're looking for more organization and resources. So again, if you're a group that's looking for projects that you want to make a difference in, you can get in touch with me or at that Parks and Recreation email, and we can put you in touch with projects that are already started and approved, but we just need people to volunteer with us.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kirsty. And again, yeah, certainly reach out to us through the Acting for Climate Together program as well, and we'll help get you in touch with staff through that program. So there's lots of different options. And are there any other comments or questions about any of those 3 updates? So we'll be doing a bit more. I think we'll be looking at a more in-depth update on the loans coming up in February, as well as probably around similar timing, maybe a little bit later, something regarding the grants in February, and probably around the same time, actually, we'll be looking at doing a info session related to the retrofit loan program as well. So stay tuned for that. We'll, now that I have your emails, I will reach out to folks regarding that as well. So unless there's any other questions or comments, I'm going to pass it on to Brianna. But before I do, I'm going to steal her thunder a tiny bit here. And I apologize to steal your probably most important update, but I do want to say, unfortunately, Brianna is going to be leaving us in one capacity, in her current capacity, and joining the RDN in another related capacity. And I just wanted to say it's been fantastic working with Brianna. I know I'm going to see her. Yeah, both we're looking at volunteering together now in something else, but also probably through work. But I just want to talk about how fantastic she was and jumping in with both feet in a temporary position and just bringing a ton of energy to this. So.
Oh, well, thank you, Dave. That's really nice to hear. Yes, so as Dave has alluded to, I am moving on from the Climate Action Outreach Coordinator position. My new role starts next week. I'm moving to the RDN Parks team, which is an exciting move for me. I love the outdoors and anything to do with being in the trees. So very excited to jump headfirst into that new world. And my role there will be as the new Parks Stewardship Outreach Coordinator. And it's a new role that's been set up in the RDN for the Parks team. So I'm going to be creating their Parks and Trails volunteer program, which is super exciting. So if anybody's interested in also getting out into regional district parks and doing some work with invasive species or plantings, I will be setting up something that will be of interest to you soon. So it doesn't quite exist yet, but it will in the near future, everything going well. We'll also be doing educational outreach on parks and trails and also wildfire management through that role and trying to apply for grants to do all of that wonderful work as well. So it's very exciting. But I thank you all for the support you've given me in jumping into this position and kind of getting underway with everything. It was a new world for me coming into climate works, but I've had such a fun time doing it and meeting everybody and seeing the passion and enthusiasm in the ACT group has really been very rewarding. And I hope you will continue well into the future and we see lots of great traction in 2025. Yeah, and so by way of the other part of my update is I wanted to share that we too have a funding program. So if you are outside of the city of Nanaimo and you have an exciting project that you want to do, then we have seed funding available. I have a poster I could pop up on the screen. Let me see. This one here. Oop. Hopefully you can all see that. And so you lose everybody when you share something. There you are. So our seed funding, we have more information on our website, which I have just been diligently updating before leaving. But we are opening registrations for projects in the RDN outside of the city of Nanaimo for 2025. We have up to $1,000 per project, and we are eagerly seeking applications if you have an idea. And we are happy to work with you if it doesn't quite fit the eligible projects that we can accept, but you have a great idea. Let's work together and figure out which parts we can fund to make it happen and get it off the ground. And we too also fund individuals, registered not-for-profits, unincorporated local community associations, and formal, informal groups and service clubs for that. So there's lots of opportunity to get involved there as well. Yeah, I think that was kind of the main things of my update. Quite short. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Jessica, on any other programs?
Yeah, I just wanted to likewise express my thanks for all of your great work filling in over the past few months. Really excited for you to go to this new position. So excited that the RDN gets to keep you on a permanent basis. The downside is that we'll be out without a climate action outreach coordinator for the next 4 months until Taylor Nielsen is back. So the RDN side of this will be keeping it going as best as we can, but leaning pretty heavily on Dave over the next while. I'll still be available to field questions on the climate action seed funding, talk about projects, but my response time might be a little bit delayed because I'll be down to just me. But yeah, definitely, if you are interested in this, get in touch. I'm happy to go through projects.
Thanks, Jessica. And thank you, Dave, for keeping the ship steered while there is no one in the seat until Taylor gets back.
No worries. And look at that. We timed this almost perfectly. Yeah. So 3 minutes before 6. So I think I'll just, rather than go to roundtable, if there's any kind of thoughts or comments, I am seeing in the chat some interest in having me or Brianna or somebody add you to the list for Acting for Climate Together. I would prefer folks register just because there's a few questions we ask through the registration process. And that's where we keep the records, which actually is with the RDN right now. So we'll figure out how we transfer that over. But yeah, we prefer you do that just so you have all the information in through that process. So the link is also in the chat there. Any thoughts? Anything anyone's really keen to share with the group as well?
I would love to see everyone's faces.
For sure. Folks, I know I can get burned out sometimes from too many Zoom meetings, but if you are comfortable turning your cameras on, I agree. I would love to see your faces. And we didn't really do introductions just because of the number of you here and how much we had to cover, but I would certainly love to get to know a lot of you, those of you I don't already know, which is, yeah.
And I want to say that's exciting news. Nice new grants that are on, and yeah, and again, I hope you have a good time despite being understaffed for 4 months. Yeah.
Okay, so I can stick around a little bit longer so typically for those that are new to Acting for Climate Together, we often end our meetings with just a roundtable where we go through and give an opportunity for people to kind of let us know what they're working on. Typically that's an opportunity if you are hitting any barriers or need some supports, opportunity to ask the group for some help. So I think we'll give that a go. If anyone has to leave, that's totally understandable. It is 6 o'clock now. That goes for staff too. But certainly I'd love to maybe get to know folks as well. So rather than me pick on all 24 of you, I think we'll just do it. If anyone's keen to go first, throw your hand up. Or yeah, I think we'll do it by hand. So there's a raised hand emotion there. Just on the upper bar there by the number of people and just near the chat. So if anyone has an update that they want to share with the group, please do. Otherwise, or just want to introduce yourself. Peter, go ahead.
Hi, Dave. Again, Peter Law, and I'm, I guess, here representing a Lindley Valley Park. I'm just wondering if it's at all possible to get you and Ting to come out and do a walkabout and actually look at what opportunities there are for some citizen science in our watershed to actually put more information into your monitoring strategy.
Yeah, Peter, and I actually live in the Lindley Valley area myself, so I'm curious to hear more about that, and that's maybe something we can follow up. But we also do have Kirsty from our Parks Department, as well as the regional district has the watershed management group as well. So it really depending what you're looking at, but in terms of the monitoring strategy, I may I don't know if Ting's still on the call, but if she wants to respond to that, but absolutely, I'm keen to chat with you more.
Well, the idea would be to get you guys out of the office.
Yeah, I'm keen on that too.
Definitely.
We've got some ideas and we'd like to share them with you. And if sometime in the next few weeks, that would be fine.
Yeah, for sure. You reach out to me by email is usually best.
Sure.
Because I'm work from home sometime, and we can try and arrange time.
Great.
I think Pete's reached out to Amanda too, Dave. And so depending on if it's in a park or if it's in public space or outside of the park, maybe coordinate both together or not, depending on that. And also citizen science is an interesting one. I don't know if everyone's aware, but we have 9 monitoring stations throughout parks where we're asking people to do photo logs as part of a citizen science outreach. And as I think March is Citizen Science Month, and we're going to do a press release around that. But that's something that parks and natural areas are focusing on. So just coupling on what you said, Peter, we want more, and maybe some of you in the community, this committee would be interested. So I can pass that information to you, Dave, when we have the press release to send to this group because we want to have more monitoring of our restoration projects, specifically restoration of natural areas.
Perfect.
Yeah, and the RDN, so right now what we're working on is getting some data and insight based on the stream data that the RDN Drinking Water and Watershed Protection Program has been collecting for, I think, some of the sites that have over a decade of data. And so I'm kind of in the process of kind of doing another level analysis now to see how we can utilize the insights that are drawn from that data to inform either projects, initiatives, or policies. So I was just looking at if there is any sites within the city, but I am not able to pinpoint it right now. And I think we'll have that data analyzed probably in about a month. It will be really great to take a look at that too.
Yeah, and I think Cottle Creek was on that list last time I saw it.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter's doing that under our community watershed grant. So he's
Beauty.
doing the monitoring of 2 locations on Cottle Creek under last year's grant. And
Excellent.
maybe this year too, Peter. I don't know if you're gonna do some continuation of that.
Well, I don't mean to take up too much time here other than to just say there's all kinds of opportunity for you to take a really interesting watershed that still has a lot of green to it, including tree canopy, to actually incorporate some local indicators for your monitoring strategy. That's I just wanted to have a chat with you about that. That's I'm well aware of the RDN's DWWP water monitoring program. We're now doing flow monitoring, and there's of course a whole whack of other things that old guys like to do when they get out into the stream or a watershed.
For sure.
Yeah, thank you for the invite.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I may reach out to you as well, Peter, because something we've done with the Acting for Climate Together group before, some of the folks on this call were there. We actually did a field visit where we went and looked at some of the work that the Departure Bay group's been doing on Woodstream, in Woodstream Park, pardon me, on Departure Creek, which was super interesting. So if there's anything you want to show off, I know I don't know if Jim's still on the call. I've gone out and looked at his site as well. So there's some fantastic work. And I also want to add, yeah, we have a few people that have had past grants on this call. So if there's any questions that Kirsty or I can't answer, there's folks that have gone through the process and been successful on this call. So certainly feel free to put your hands up. But right now I've got Kevin with his hand up here from the Nanaimo Climate Action Hub. Hey, Kevin.
Yeah, hi. It was a great meeting, and excuse me. Thanks, Ting, for walking through all those metrics. It's really fascinating. I'm so happy that we have the ability to do all that monitoring. Really nothing too much from me other than I just wanted to say hello. There are a few folks on the call from the Nanaimo Climate Action Hub. Deanna, Lori, I think Shelley's one of our organizers, and I think you all know her fairly well. We've got a lot going on, and really happy to partner with you all. And it's going to be a great year, big year.
Kevin, can I put you on the spot a little bit, just for folks that aren't familiar with the Climate Action Hub? Do you mind giving a elevator pitch on what the Climate Action Hub's about?
Yeah, I mean, just as the word hub in the name would imply, we really see our role as kind of a convener and a connector of different organizations that are focused on climate and adjacent issues and topics. I think that we're probably all on this call because we know that climate and all the different intersections of different, whether we're talking about biodiversity and ecosystem collapse and all the things we need to do, all the work is so connected. So our mandate is really to educate and advocate, and we have certain campaigns that we really get behind every year. Last year and ongoing, really, the heat pump campaign has been pretty big. We got really behind zero carbon step code, and we're happy to really get a lot of people out there and really understanding the issue and supporting it, showing up to council meetings and so on. Yeah, you know, we're growing our membership all the time and trying to get more and more people involved. And it's, you know, we've got a great community, people who Joel is, I see Joel's face, Joel shows up, has liked everything we put on, and so happy to, you know, see a lot of familiar faces here, and you know, we're always trying to just have more reach and get more people involved.
Thanks for that, Kevin. I really appreciate it. I think that's fantastic information. And that's one of the things we're trying to do with ACT is just get people aware of what some of the groups are out there are doing. And Climate Action Hub's a really good example of a local group that's really taken on a lot of initiatives, supported the city and some of what we've done as well. And that's certainly appreciated. And Joel, I do, just because I see him adding to the chat and he just got a shout out, I also want to acknowledge the work that Joel and Melissa have done with Team Copenhagen as well. And I think so. Just pull attention to Joel's comment there, related to some of the fantastic work they've done, largely in active transportation as well as park ambassadors. So, anybody else want to introduce your group, yourselves, to let us know what you're working on or have any questions? Just seeing Joel's comment. Fantastic.
I guess I'll say a couple things. I'm with Peter with Cottle Creek. So we've been doing some stuff on there, but interested in doing some other stuff as well. So just thought I'd say hi.
Sure. Hi, Judy. We know each other a little bit.
Yeah, we've met before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Judy's, I think, you're also with the Rock City Neighborhood Association, if I'm correct.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know we were talking about maybe doing some stuff like food forest or gardens, because I've talked with, I'm hoping to do a pollinator garden with Rock City School.
Excellent. Yeah, so that's something that would certainly be eligible for the grant, especially if you do that either through the school or through the neighborhood association. So certainly stay tuned. Like I said, launching on the 14th, the information is on the website. So
okay,
absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, I'll put those links, but if you just search grants on the city website, it should come up. So again, the name of the grant that would be applicable to that type of project would be the Community Environmental Sustainability Grant.
Okay. Look forward to hearing more about that.
Unless it's in the park adjacent to Rock City School, which is another thing just to note, that Rock City School grounds have quite a large park beside them as well. So depending on where you were thinking of putting it, if you're putting it in the treed area, it might be on the park. If you're putting it in the field or the open playground area, so just check the property boundaries on our online mapping system, Judy.
Yeah, well, we looked at the park as well, but also the school has a so-called garden that's kind of a disaster that I helped start, and I'd like to get them to fix it up. So hopefully, I have talked to one teacher, so hopefully we'll get together and do something with it, and maybe with the park as well.
Fantastic. And I think that's a key point with the grants is if you like, first of all, there are other options like the Partners for Park program if you're looking at parkland. But the main thing we're looking for, if it is something that's not on your property, is that you have permission. So that's would be reaching out to parks before you apply. If it happens to be in a park, they may direct you to another program like Partners for Park or whatever, or they may say the grant is the appropriate route to go. But certainly we won't approve anything that doesn't have permission. The other key piece, and this one is that we understand can be difficult, but especially around, and I'm sorry, Christy, I'm going to speak to water courses a little bit here, but anything related to water course or any kind of sensitive area, ideally we want you to talk to the local First Nation. In most cases, that'll be Snuneymuxw. as well, and we can help you make those connections if need be.
Okay. Great.
And Judy, just to be clear, I was speaking more generally that that's probably less of a concern for a project at Rock City, not a school, but yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. This is really exciting. Lots of really awesome projects, really great ideas in mind. Anything else? I know there's a few other people. I'm not going to put people on the spot for this meeting. Normally we do for acting, but just because of the number of people. But if anyone else is keen to share a project or I thought something else, or just want to introduce, like I said, themselves and what they're all about. Thanks, Shelley. Jim, yes, welcome.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank all you folks for the great work you're doing and coordinating a lot of this stuff. And this has made Nanaimo a really great city because of all the green space and wildlife habitat space that we've left out. It's great. For those of you that don't know me, I'm myself and Andrew, who's also here, are from Pacific Gardens and Harewood. And it's a condominium basically, and we have a wetland on the east side of our property, including a like what we call a duck pond and an ephemeral pond as well. And our condominium has designated that property to remain well, not untouched, to remain natural. So we've been working for the last 6 years to remove like all kinds of invasives. Lately, the last year and a half has been reed canary grass. That's the latest one that's moved in. But we've got I would say the property, 80% of the invasive plants have been removed. And this summer we're going to work on the remainder of it. And also we've been doing a lot of planting. We've got some outstanding issues that we're possibly don't have a good perspective on. And one is like the long range life of our wetland pond. It's got cattails in it, and we're trying to decide whether we should let nature take its natural course and it fill in with vegetation and become a meadow there, or do we want to keep working on keeping it a place for for the ducks to come in and live for the summer and that. So that's one thing. But we've come a long way and in as far as removing invasives and putting in native plants. And I at this time I was planning on getting a hold of either yourself or Kirsty or both you guys, Dave, and I'd be as the other gentleman said, I would just love it if you guys could come down here for an hour someday on 7th Street here, where where we are, and maybe just give us a few ideas as far as the long range view that we should take towards our pond, and also an ephemeral creek, which is somebody straightened out. And we're not sure whether we should leave it like that or try to return it further back to the original, but would really appreciate your input on that for sure. We had Linda Broymans from Nault here last night to talk about the progress we've made, to talk about to the residents here, and that went over quite well. And that, so we've been working hard, and that's sort of a summary about Pacific Gardens anyway.
Thanks, Jim. And Jim's a past grant recipient as well for the Community Watershed Grant. And yeah, I have been out to your property before, and thanks for that tour. It was really fascinating to see all the work you've done. In terms of coming back out, if you haven't already, I know you're in touch with him often, but reach out to Kevin Bridges as well, because I think just he may be better qualified to advise you related to particular aspects of questions like whether you should leave the cattails or not. That's what he does for a living. I do that at best off the side of my desk, really not at all. So Kevin's your better person to go with there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Okay, I know anybody else want to add anything? If not, I just wanted to say thank you, everyone. This is really encouraging. Not just thank you for showing up today, but thank you for the fantastic work so many of you are doing. I think all of you, I know many of you, I don't know all of you. So I'm hoping to meet those of you I don't know as we work on projects together, whether that's through Acting for Climate Together or something else. And look forward to seeing some really fantastic grant applications come in as well.
Yeah, thank
Anybody
you
want-
everyone for your time.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you all. Have a great year.
Good evening.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.